trying to block the Epstein files, and they're not. Like I gave you the answer to that question. Thomas Massie is one of the staunchest supporters of line item things in Congress, and now he's going against his own norms of tying it to different things that he knows. I don't know if you're familiar with the term poison pill, right? Where they just try to throw something in order to get it blocked or to get it voted down, so they can come out and say, "Oh, look, they're trying to block it." He's basically pulling Democrat tactics on Republicans by saying the Republicans, his own party, which he's not even really part of, he's a libertarian, is trying to block the Epstein files. Again, what Andrew said is accurate. There's also there's a federal case in New York where they've already prosecuted it, and some of the information is redacted, and that information, the New York judge is not releasing. That's not Trump. He
federal. So just to back up what's being said here, federal judges have repeatedly blocked the release of grand jury materials related to the Jeffrey Epstein case, with U.S. District Judge Richard Berman, the most recent, denying the request by the Trump administration in August of 2025. You didn't know any of this. You didn't know that there has been a concerted effort, not just in a bipartisan wing, but just in the grand jury itself, of releasing that testimony as well. They're trying to get these files out, and you don't know what you're talking about.
They chose the grand jury testimony because it's largely like a few dozen pages of not like there's 90% of it's not going to be released by the grand jury testimony. Grand jury testimony can only deal with the suspect in the case and the direct victim. So if you're talking about people who are, let's say, parties or friends or connections to the perpetrator of the crime, it's not going to be covered by grand jury testimony. The vast majority of the testimony was done away from the grand jury in tiny rooms where suspects or people who are informing the government about what's going on is telling them detail after detail after detail. The vast majority of those trove of documents were not confirmed. And you're right about Burnell, but what he said was the government is the logical party to make comprehensive disclosures to the public of the Epstein files. So Berman, the person you referred to, he said it's the government's job to make this decision to release those files.
And there's a bipartisan effort. Hang on. And there's a bipartisan effort going on right now to get these files released. If Democrats and would have ever done any of these on a clean bill, it might have been a completely different situation.
The discharge petition is a clean bill.
The discharge position, or I'm sorry?
The discharge petition has nothing to do with defense spending, has nothing to do with anything besides releasing the files. And that's why Lauren Boebert signed on. That's why Thomas Massie signed on. And it is one vote away from going around Mike Johnson.
So you mean there is a bipartisan? So you mean there is a bipartisan effort to move it out?
Right off the bat, there is something else that could stop them from passing the discharge petition, and that's embarrassing it's embarrassing to the Speaker of the House. To have a discharge petition go around him is to undercut his authority. So I'll grant that there might be other reasons for why people might be nervous to sign on to a discharge petition, including undercutting the president and the Speaker of the House. But there is a clean pathway right now to getting that information out. But it means telling Mike Johnson to fuck off.
Yes, but again, but hang on. This would just make my point, that there is a bipartisan effort going on to release the Epstein files. And yes, there's all sorts of tangential reasons why this might not be going on, why it is that they're not releasing them. I'm fully for the release of the Epstein files. I'm sure everybody here is fully for the release of the Epstein files. I'm just saying we don't have a clear picture as to all the other mitigating factors which is going on, which is stalling the release. Do I think that we're going to get the release of the Epstein files? I have no idea. I sure hope so.
Why do you think they would only request the grand jury testimony and not the vast majority of the testimony that might actually name someone like Trump?
Because it's possible. So here's the truth. And I'm sure that, Dylan, since you've been a war correspondent, you'll probably back some of this up. The United States government has been involved in blackmail operations around the world with various governments for probably 200 years. And one of the tactics that the CIA and the NSA and Mossad and many, many other intelligence groups like to use, besides just them, is blackmail operations, mostly on Western politicians using underage prostitutes, and they blackmail them. Once they have sex with a prostitute, they then reveal, by the way, that was an underage prostitute. Now they have blackmail on them. Now, the entire Epstein saga is a saga of blackmail. This was a blackmail operation. It was signed on to by multiple governments, and there's probably all sorts of operatives who are in the field right this second who would be compromised by a lot of the material which is in the Epstein files. That's the actual big boy lens in which to view this. Now, I still, even then, support releasing all the Epstein files. But there could be really good national security reasons why it is that no Democrats done it, why no Republicans done it, even though they've had plenty of time to release many of the facts on the Epstein files. They haven't done it, none of them. So just pointing that out.
I do want to, and I asked this in 100% good faith. Do we know of any high-ranking, either somebody in the Gang of Eight that has been told or like confirmed this, or like, do we have any like evidence to back that up? I know there might be Mossad ties directly between Jeffrey Epstein, but I mean, like, is there anybody in the top position who's come out and like a whistleblower, maybe something of that sort?
You mean as a high-level CIA agent come out and confirmed that a bunch of top secret information, so they would go to prison? Probably not. No. There's a lot of evidence that Epstein himself and getting his fortune wouldn't have even been possible without the intervention of multiple governments. This guy came out of the scene out of nowhere. He did not have the sorts of ties you would normally have, nor the pedigree to amass such a fortune. He was a nobody when he was arrested originally for doing what? For doing things he wasn't supposed to be doing sexually with people. And suddenly the guy becomes extremely wealthy and has all sorts of government connections. Now, what will often happen in these cases is that you get arrested. Once you're arrested, then you're presented with a deal. You start working for us as an informant, et cetera, and then we'll give you the sweetheart deal. That's exactly what happened with Epstein. So, just the fact that he was in the position he was in, all of that points to having some sort of government backing. The fact that he was bumping elbows with politicians, massive NGOs. President Clinton was on his island multiple times. This guy was way, way, way too tied in to not have some type of intelligentsia around. Now, you can say that's not a smoking gun, I guess, but it seems like it's a hard fact to dispute.
Also,
I think it's also really interesting to point out that when after the 2003 case where he, as Andrew said, was doing bad things with young people, after that, his methodology changed completely. It is almost like an operation. He would start recruiting these girls when they were 16 and 17. The second they turned 18, they're off to start hobnobbing with very rich people and very powerful officials in various places. It supports exactly what Andrew's talking about. And that's been proven. That's known beyond a fact by the victims' own, and we can call them victims, but by these people's own testimony.
Yeah.
And by the way, they said they never heard Trump's name. They never saw him. They never met him. They had nothing to do with Trump.
Do you think that Prince Andrew, Dylan, was on Epstein Island banging a chick and that MI6 didn't know about it? You think MI6 didn't know
I think
that Prince Andrew was down there moving and grooving?
Coral reefs.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that MI6 knew exactly where Prince Andrew was when he was on that island. So that's what I think.
It's possible. They could also possibly not care. It wouldn't be the first time intelligence agencies have looked past moral degeneracy of an individual.
That's not looking past. It's the
why
fact of the matter is that compromise operations are probably one of the most useful tools against Western governments. You can't do them against Arab governments. You can't do them against Eastern governments because they don't give a shit about age of consent laws. It doesn't bother them. But Western governments do. And so one of the most effective compromising tactics by various intelligence agencies, and I can pull up multiple operations for you that are very similar to this, where they're utilizing people to run underage prostitution
Let's say
rings.
I grant all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I grant all of this.
Yeah.
I would make, and you said you agree with the release, but I just want to see if we can, touch tips here a little bit.
Let's not never ever say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
again, bro. Holy shit. Oof.
I'll say it again.
That's enough to gag a maggot, Dylan. Gag a maggot.
Anyway,
It would gag a maggot, Dylan. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Epstein files should be released, and if this is the case,
Yeah.
that this is going on, then we should stop trying to do these operations to get people by trafficking children and doing that. That this is something that should be shut down. If it's true, even more reason. I mean, if there is a swamp, which Trump refers to and constantly, the swamp epitomized would be a government child trafficking operation to compromise foreign intelligence
Well,
assets.
from a
If
Christian-
there's anything Trump should hunt down, it's something like that.
Well, again, this guy is arrested on Trump's watch, right? And so the thing is that yes,
don't know anything about
Trump
it.
also signed an executive order specifically going after underage trafficking. By the way, just so you know, it's been a top priority of the administration. That's the whole point of the illegal immigration crackdown. Where does most human trafficking go through, Dylan? The southern border. Most of it goes through the southern border. And you guys are the first ones trying to pump in as many illegals as possible, keep the border unsecure. That's where all the human
Let's stop
trafficking
the
is.
politically convenient trafficking then. The one
Yeah,
that's
okay.
used,
Politically
I think, all
convenient trafficking,
trafficking's
like
bad,
leaving
including
our
politically
southern
convenient
border
trafficking.
open for a bunch of kids to be trafficked across, Dylan.
I didn't say that I want the southern
genius.
border open. We're talking
Okay,
about
but
Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah,
Let's
Yeah,
I'm
keep
talking.
it-
Well, I'm
let's not
tying it
get
all
too
in.
far
I'm
afield.
tying it in so that you understand that that this is interrelated. When you're talking about let's shut down human trafficking. Oh, okay, great. You want this the big expose that shows that intelligence agencies do this, even though it's well known, and I can give you the operations which have been declassified over the last
It
40
won't
years.
stop until you
Shh,
expose it.
shh. For the last 40 years. The last 40 fucking years, they've been doing this and declassifying the evidence of it even
What was
before
200?
that. By the way, let me just point this out. That would shut down a very minuscule amount of human trafficking. You know what would shut down the most amount? Locking down the fucking border. So if you really cared about human trafficking, that's where your focus would be.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
why
still
not
jumping-
both?
what-
Why can't we not just we could stop the political?
all you try to do is block both.
border trafficking. I think no child should be trafficked. That's my position.
Yeah, okay. Except everything that you do, that you guys do, is you like encourage riots in
guys.
California. You do everything possible to pump it as
I am not from Cali.
as many illegal immigrants as possible by leaving our southern border completely unsecure. When Texas tried to secure their southern border, the feds came in and tried to shut them down.
Derangement
Bro, this
syndrome.
about
What do you
Epstein.
think?
Yeah, we're getting.
Well, hang on,
again,
hang on.
I understand you're making examples.
Yeah,
trying
I'm
to keep
giving
it
it-
Actually, let's
relatively
talk about-
I'm trying to
contained.
say if Dylan really cares about human trafficking,
No, I understand what you're trying to say, and I'm saying fine, shut that down too. But if you're on one hand saying I care about trafficking on the border, but on the other hand aren't willing to be transparent about our government directly participating in trafficking, which is the allegation.
Oh, you mean the
then
thing I
think
said
you're
that you-
inconsistent, and you only do it when
and
politically
did
viable.
I say that they need to release the Epstein files? I fully 100% support
Yes,
it.
but that's
from
why I'm
and here's the
putting
other
pressure
thing
on
that's
it.
really
It
funny
should be
about this.
released.
It's only under Christian ethics, my ethical purview, that's even wrong. From your stupid ass utilitarian position, you don't even have a leg to stand on. From your dumbass position, if it's the
We're not-
case
hold
that
on,
they
Andrew,
can
this-
compromise,
That's way.
it's not.
now we're
It's hang on. It's
way
not.
afield.
It's not.
No,
I'll tie.
it's-
Like, give me a second to tie it in. Give me a second to tie it in. If it's
Yeah,
the
I'll
case,
give you like one.
if
all
it's
right, I'll give you like one
actually
second.
the case that they can compromise an entire nation, an adversarial nation with one underage prostitute on the util calculus, Dylan, you should support that. Just saying.
I don't want any trafficking of children or use of children in that way for any foreign policy.
Not very
purpose.
utilitarian.
By
of
the
you.
way, why would it be impossible to have it be a 19-year-old and just say they're a 16-year-old, even if you wanted to do that?
Sometimes they do that. That has been in some of the declassified documents. They have done that. They've
Wouldn't that be
taken.
the utilitarian position not to have somebody?
It
child-
doesn't. It doesn't actually. Hang on. It's not actually as effective. So if you were going to, like, I don't know, blackmail some Western Denmark fucking monarch or
I can
something,
both
I don't
save
know.
my values and not have them.
Yeah,
It's very simple. I do it every
But
day.
if it's just
doesn't hit the
if it's
same,
just a
Dylan.
question,
It doesn't.
what just happened? I just got kicked. Uh-oh. I just got kicked.
Okay.
Love to
Sorry,
wanna
Andrew.
get-
I just like you got your second. You made your point. We're gonna move on.
This is just to put a finer point.
Wait,
on Dylan's,
hang on. Did you just kick me off the panel?
Well, I removed you for a second because I asked you again. Second rule or first rule: if I'm talking, don't talk. All right.
You just
gave you a
said,
lot of
hang
leeway.
on, I asked for 1 second. You gave me the 1 second. That was it. You didn't have to kick me off the panel.
Sorry, I was muted for a second. I thought that you were speaking over me. I just wanted to. We're moving on the topic. All right. You made your point. It's all good. Yeah, I just did that so we can get back on track.
Didn't you
let's
say you
see.
have questions you wanted to ask?
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
So I just wanted to. I
Go ahead.
wanted
I
to
want to thank
point out
Riley
that
for
is-
personally saving my reputation.
Yes. No, it was definitely because of me. All right, let me ask this. This is something that I've been thinking about. We've been talking about a lot of different kinds of evidence throughout this panel. A lot of the conversations have been very interesting. Something that happened very recently that piqued my interest is that at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, there was Elon Musk sitting with Donald Trump. This is, I believe, one of the first times that they have been seen together since their falling out.
They get their
During
asses
that
kicked, and
previous
then
falling
I
out,
get
Elon
kicked.
Musk specifically said that Trump
I
isn't
kicked their
releasing the
asses and
files
they
because
kicked
he's
me
not
out.
in that, or because he's in
What the
them.
fuck is that?
Do people care about that? Is there any way to ascribe to that? What are people's thoughts?
I think Elon was really, really ultra mega ass pained, and he would have said anything in that moment to stick it where it hurts.
But
Yeah,
again,
I
I
think
think it was
fair
true. But
shots.
again, it's just embarrassing for Trump. I just want them to have to deal with the fact that this is embarrassing.
Here's my question.
Yeah, why would
right?
Elon have access to that?
Elon wouldn't know, and it's played out.
Yeah,
Like
when
we
Elon
know
was-
his name. We know his name. Sorry, Miss. Hold on. We know his name appears somewhere. He was friends for a bit with him. Like his name's the file. That's such a fucking dipshit statement. He's in the Epstein files. Yeah, obviously. That's such it's such a dipshit played out talking point. Also, and Elon was he's pissed. He's going to say anything he had to say.